All right, hi there. In this video, I want to talk about Google, Google's stock and Google's business, and to what extent the rise of OpenAI's ChatGPT chatbot, and specifically the feature of developing your own agents, represents a risk to Google's core business search, and as a result, to the stock of Google as well. So what I should say before we start is that I myself am a Google shareholder. I've been a shareholder in Google since 2020. And as of today, my Google position represents a weight of 5.6%, I think around 5.6% of my overall portfolio. So it does represent a meaningful part of my portfolio. In fact, it's the 7th largest position in my portfolio. And Google stock more recently has come under some pressure. The stock is down, I think, somewhere in the low 20% range from its previous high. And I think the narrative that AI is going to disrupt Google's core business has been out there for quite a while, certainly ever since ChatGPT has become mainstream popular. But what I want to talk about specifically is the use of agents and how they may change people's search behavior. Because what I want to share here is my own experience. Because this summer, I actually subscribed to ChatGPT Plus. And I subscribed to ChatGPT Plus because I had a couple of projects that I was working on, and I was trying to test whether AI can help me streamline my process, increase my productivity, and just make me more time efficient in working on these projects. And initially, I actually planned to cancel that subscription as soon as I was done with these projects. But to my surprise, I found the agents that I was developing, and maybe I'll have to explain what agents are in just a second. I found them to create a lot of stickiness for the end consumer. So chances are I will now stay with ChatGPT Plus for many months and years to come. Actually also tested out Google's Gemini Pro, I think it's called Gemini Advanced offering, and I don't think it was as good as ChatGPT Plus. So what are agents? Agents are basically, I would call it a model, and please be aware, I'm not an AI programmer, but they are a model that is trained to do a specific task. So for example, I have a couple of agents set up for school-related tasks. As you know, in my full-time job, I work as a teacher. And for example, one agent may help me come up with model solutions for class tests that my students will have to write. Another assistant may help me in communicating with parents. And as I said, they follow very specialized tasks. Then, of course, I have agents for my social media content production. I have agents that are more focused on helping me writing blogs. There are agents that should generate ideas for future videos and that may lay out a structure for very specific videos. And so over time, I've set up a couple of different agents. I think I would have to count, but I probably have around 10 agents with very specific tasks set up right now. And the setup or the creation of the agent, that takes some time, and you really have to put some effort into thinking about what do I want the agent to do and what's the best way to describe that task to the AI model. And I feel like that initial investment, both time and energy wise, sort of is a sunk cost fallacy where this makes you reluctant to go through the entire process again on a new platform. I'm probably at a point right now, and this brings me to Google's AI offering and Google's agent offering. I'm at a point where I still could switch because 10 agents can be set up relatively quickly. I would still be willing to make the switch if the alternative offering would be fundamentally better. So someone pointed that out on Threads to me, and I was actually giving Google's Gemini Advanced a shot because they also offer 1 free month for that service. And to my surprise, and to be fair, I only had set up one agent to compare it to another agent that I was using with ChatGPT. But to my surprise, the end result was much inferior to OpenAI's LLM outcome or output. So actually just yesterday, I canceled my free Google Gemini Advanced subscription again, and I think I will stick with OpenAI's ChatGPT Plus. Which now brings me to, I guess, the second chapter of this video, and this may be the more interesting one. What does this mean for Google shareholders? And as I said in the introduction of the video, I'm a Google shareholder myself. So first of all, I have no intention of selling my Google shares anytime soon. However, Just like with some of the other names in my portfolio, I'm certainly in a mode where I will carefully track how AI is going to impact Google's business going forward. So I have a couple of thoughts here. First of all, let's talk about agents. I was describing my use of agents in the last few minutes. And I would say agents per se are not necessarily a risk to Google because agents aren't necessarily replacing the traditional core Google searches, which make up the majority of Google's revenue. In a way, you can think of, at least that's my interpretation, of the search queries that you would use with an AI agent as these sort of queries expanding the overall search market, because those would be search queries that I would never have used before. So it's more about bigger projects, creative tasks, writing tasks, stuff like that. So in a way, agents created, and maybe not only agents, but many ChatGPT use cases in general too, they created an entirely new market that serves a different purpose than the more traditional Google search queries. And I would argue that Google still remains, like Google's core search product, still remains a tool to navigate the web. So when I, for example, look for the investor relations website of a company I own, I'm not going to go to the company's website. No, instead I will just Google the company's name, add IR for investor relations next to it, and then I'll just click on the first link. So in a way, it's just a tool for me to navigate the web. And you can present many different search queries where the same would be the case. So honestly, I don't think this core business and these sort of search queries are going to go away anytime in the near and medium term. However, I think longer term, Google has to be a little worried that especially younger generations are now building the habit of quote unquote ChatGPTing instead of Googling. And I feel like if the nature of search queries in general is shifting to a new sort of search query, there is a significant risk to Google's core business here, because younger generations, that's what I can tell you from my experience as a teacher, they are not using Google Gemini to find answers to their questions with the help of large language models. No, they are pretty much exclusively using ChatGPT. And even I myself, as someone who is older than 30, I have made the decision to use ChatGPT for the most part. So I really find myself using ChatGPT quite frequently each week. And in fact, some of the search queries are replacing search queries that I would have usually used Google for. So just to provide one example here, when I was looking at the different segments of Google's revenue, I wanted to better understand what one particular segment actually represents, because I wasn't entirely sure. I was actually Googling it, but working my way through the links wasn't really helpful, and none of the websites I was linked to was providing me a very clear answer. Then I tried the same with ChatGPT, and voila, I had a very concise answer right there. So it was a way more efficient way to derive information from the internet for me. And that is something that I, as a Google shareholder, am slightly worried about. I feel like Google has to move a little faster here and has to get the product right, so to speak, because as I said, I tried Google Gemini Advanced, but I wasn't happy with the outcome. I do understand that large language models, they serve a great variety of use cases, and I was just comparing OpenAI's ChatGPT to Google Gemini Advanced for one particular use case, and I have actually read that Gemini is the superior model when it comes to, I think coding was one of the examples here, but nonetheless, my personal experience was that Google's Gemini is not as good as OpenAI's ChatGPT. What I will say is that my use case probably doesn't represent the use case of search tools in general, of the general population. So I would like to hear what you think. How do you use ChatGPT nowadays, and to what extent has it replaced Google as maybe your core search engine on the web? That's it. Take care. Have a great day.